Hi.
Hi, it's great to
Let
see
me I'm not sure. Is this an appropriate background?
you. No, it's totally
It's
fine.
kind of all I've got going on right now. I'm at my grandpa's house.
So I don't think we'll be expecting too many people to join, but we do have a few people on my team who will come, and then we will also allow like the chat at the end to open up for any questions they may have.
I shared it on my Facebook a couple of times, but I didn't get around to Instagram until just now.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
probably okay. We kind of took down our post last minute, so that's probably why we may not have been able to get as many people, but hopefully people do show up. So I
Where are
think
you from?
I'm from San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah, so California, but
Yeah.
I'm let me just make sure it's recording really quick and then we can get started. I have like 6 questions and then hopefully people will be asking them from the like chat and everything. I guess I can also like go over our organization a little bit while we're here, of course.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just going to be fixing my tripod.
okay. So we're a grassroots organization, a national one, and we are focusing on the youth vote for this election. It's really a critical election year, of course, and we are working on the youth vote and trying to get as many American youth voters out and voting as possible. And that's like our main goal, but on the side, we are launching this initiative where we interview local politicians just to show our members what a career or involvement in politics can look like, and just to inspire more people who may be voting for you to also turn out for the general election for president.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's great. Okay, so let me just put it like on our story right now.
Okay.
And as before, we'll only have like 6 questions, so it should probably take until 4:30, but I put 5 just in case it goes over.
All good. I'm free until 7, so if there's an influx of people and they're asking tons of questions, I can stay as long as you need me.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Also happy to come back anytime.
Yeah, maybe we could do like a follow-up after the election and we can talk more about like what happened and everything like that.
Mhm.
That would be really cool. Yeah.
If you ever want to go live on Instagram, that's something I've been wanting to do.
Yeah, maybe so we're gonna be posting this on our IGTV. So maybe once it's posted we could do like kind of like a watch party where we just watch the interview over and then you can answer
I
like
don't know how that works, but I trust you.
I honestly don't know either, but we have a social
Okay.
media coordinator who's gonna do it all. But like we could have us go and like watch it and then like maybe any lingering questions after the interview people can ask.
Yeah.
Okay, let me. I'm just gonna take a picture, so smile. Okay, I'm gonna just post it on my story.
If you tag me, I'll repost it right now.
Okay. 1 second, sorry, my Wi-Fi is acting up, but
It's all good.
it should be up soon. Um,
I don't see it yet.
I'm so sorry. I think it's still uploading. It should be up soon, hopefully.
Okay. As long as very well could be my Wi-Fi. I'm in the back room. Actually, I might as well. I'm gonna go take the router out of the like box my grandpa keeps it in real quick.
Okay.
I forgot this room doesn't get good Wi-Fi unless I take the router out of the like bookshelf.
Okay. It's still uploading. I'm not really sure what's going on, but hopefully that doesn't happen with our meeting too.
Oh, here, I see it now.
Great.
Now I have to find a GIF. The pressure.
I know social media is like too hard for me.
Ooh, the suggestion, something about like on the front page of suggestions, there's something about momentum building. Let's see if there's something better. I don't like the GIF, but I like the
Okay, yeah.
phrase momentum.
Okay, there's someone here. This is Max. He's part of our interviewing team. So he's just gonna be here to watch and just learn more about it.
Howdy. Okay. There, I have shared it.
Okay, then there's one more person coming from our interview team.
Let me just turn my notifications off as well so that no interruptions. Except for if my mom calls, then that'll go through, unfortunately.
Okay, that's totally fine. It is 5, but
I'm happy to wait or whatever your timeline is.
Do Momo and Max want to introduce themselves? They're on our interviewing local candidates team.
Oh. Oh, can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
My name is Momo McCamey. I'm a regional anchor in California, and I'm really excited to watch this interview.
How did you guys find out? Oh, hi.
Oh.
Go ahead.
My name is Max. I'm one of the Washington regional anchors, and I'm also here to just listen to the interview.
How did you guys like find out about my campaign? Because I'm in a pretty small city of only like 36,000.
I think we saw like someone's TikTok and then they shouted you out on their Instagram. So
Was it Samira?
I think so, yeah.
She shouted me out? Okay.
Yeah, and I
I
was
didn't see that, but I will have to go check that out.
yeah, so we went there and we were like, this is really interesting. We saw like your story highlights with like what you're running for. So then we decided to reach out.
Cool, cool. Yeah, right now I'm doing everything myself, which is tiring. I need to delegate, but yeah, it's interesting to hear what you guys have seen, so I know to continue doing that, basically.
Yeah, I think I definitely recommend creating a TikTok. I think it's really helpful with a lot of these campaigns.
I love TikTok, but I can't think of anything I've made that would work for. I mean, I guess I make just generally liberal, progressive TikToks. I need to make it more niche for my city, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Reintroduce you. Sorry, we're talking with hi everyone. So welcome to our interview today. We'll be interviewing Alicia Rainn Marazzani. She's running for Martinez City Council in District 2. And then right now we'll just go over what our Youth for Joe Biden campaign is, and then we'll get into some questions. And then if anyone watching has any questions, or if anyone joins later on, they can ask questions in the chat. So we will be conducting a short interview about your policies and your motivations to run for city council, and then we will be posting it on our IGTV channel. And Youth for Joe Biden is a grassroots organization that focuses on mobilizing young voters to turn out and vote. And one of our initiatives is to interview politicians in order to show our members what a career or involvement in politics can look like. So that's like a brief synopsis of what we do, and we can go ahead and get started with the questions right now. So our first question for you is, what motivated you to run for Martinez City Council?
So I'm from Martinez, born and raised, and I love Martinez. Like, obviously, like I want to leave, but like it's my hometown. I don't feel like I need to stay here forever. But at the same time, like it really hurts like my soul to hear people like the recent events in Martinez where someone defaced the Black Lives Matter mural, and all over the East Bay there were some flyers that were found that were white supremacist groups recruitment and things like that. Like that's not the Martinez that I know and love. Obviously I'm white, I have a very like biased perspective, but I want to make Martinez the Martinez that I know and love, welcoming, accepting, a place where families want to be, a place where small businesses want to be. And I don't see that reflected in our current city council. They're pretty complacent. They're pretty, they're all incumbents. They've all, except for one that's only been on for one term, I think they've all been on anywhere between 8 and 24 years. So the guy I'm running against the incumbent has been on city council for 24 years, and I'm only 22 years old. So longer than I've been alive, and he doesn't have a lot to show for it. So I think it's time for some new blood and some fresh perspectives that have lived a different type of life in the 2000s than he has. Like I've grown up and I have seen everything around me in Martinez and the world. And I think that someone who hasn't done anything in 24 years in city council, like his time is overdue. It's time to pass the baton. And if I'm that person, great. If not, then we'll make change in other ways. I'm not putting all of my eggs in city council being like the end all be all of activism or whatever. I just hate to see someone running unopposed. So I decided to step up and be that person.
Yeah, that's great to hear. We definitely need a lot more of young voices in politics. Like there's always, I think a lot of times there's a lot of people who just have a seat in politics and then they never run unopposed, so they never really have to deal with the challenge of actually trying to do stuff for their city. So it's great to hear that you're running. So our second question is that we saw that you are in support of the creation of an anti-racist task force in your community. Can you tell us more about what this is and how you'll implement it?
Yeah, so there's been a movement in Martinez long before I even announced my campaign from some community members who they're looking at this all like middle-aged or elderly, all white city council and thinking about how they're not reflecting our community members in many aspects. So a task force, which is a little bit more permanent than something like a committee or an ad hoc committee, someone brought that to the table and asked for it. And it's been on the table for, I want to say, like 5 weeks now or something like that, and they're still talking about it. There's actually a meeting tonight where community members are getting together to talk exactly what our like asks are going to be, because the argument the past few council meetings has been the city council in our city laws, like they have to be the people who select the people on this task force. And we don't think that it's fair for like basically this all white city council to be like hand picking the people to bring anti-racist values to our city. So we're going to brainstorm tonight some other ways that maybe we could like reach the most diverse applicants. So whether that be applications in different languages, different ways to reach and get those applications out to the different parts of our community, because not everybody follows like the city council's Facebook page. And someone brought that up to a city council member, like, oh, I don't have a Facebook, where am I supposed to get news? And one of the city council members said, oh, you should get a Facebook. And they're like, what about Instagram? And they're like, oh, well, we don't have Instagrams. And they're like, yeah, maybe as city council members, you should like have your daughter run your Instagram or something, just to put out a couple news tidbits here and there, keep people in the loop. I think that back to the anti-racist task force, they're kind of also pushing it to be something short term. The original ask was for a task force, which is a little bit more permanent than an ad hoc committee. And of course, the second meeting where it's on the table, the mayor refers to it as an ad hoc committee. And we're like, no. Let's go back to a task force, because that is something that can actually be more permanent. I don't know how long this is going to be on the table. I think I'll have a lot more info after our meeting tonight, where community members are actually going to talk on Zoom about it. It's kind of hard to tell just from social media comments and like the loudest people like here and there. I actually want to hear what like people who aren't necessarily vocal on social media have to say about it, and especially people of color, their voices on and their opinions on this, because all I'm seeing is a lot of white input, and those aren't the people that are going to be on the task force. So I don't think it's important that we as white people have a say on like how it forms necessarily.
Yeah, that sounds like a great project. If you have like the links and everything for that, we can definitely repost that on our story as well, just to get more people. And then our next question is, aside from an anti-racist task force, what are some of the main issues that you're running for or running against?
So in Martinez, the police budget is about 47% of our city budget. And they also have access to like the general fund and other things here and there to be more like militarized, which I am against the militarization of the police, especially in Martinez where I'm running. 47% of our city budget is a lot. That's almost 50%, but it is not the highest I've seen in the Contra Costa area or East Bay. It's going to be hard to run on a platform like defund the police or even abolish the police, because those like buzzwords, and they're like historic words that have been used by abolitionists for decades and decades, but now they're like in the forefront of the media, and all of these older white moderate or Republican voters here in Martinez hear that and automatically think like, oh, there's going to be criminals running rampant. But that's not the case. I've been working with a few candidates also on the younger side in the area who want to defund their police. And I think if we can come together as kind of like a coalition of candidates, we'll be able to get more done, because these older voters will be thinking like, oh, if we defund the police, then the criminals from the next town over are just going to come here. And it's like, no, if we all reallocate these funds and reimagine like how our communities function together, it doesn't have to be like just Martinez doing all of this work, and then once it's proven to work, then like Walnut Creek will pick it up. It's like we need to all be doing this work all together, reimagining how our communities function, putting these funds into mental health awareness and response, similar to Cahoots in Eugene. I'm a huge fan of, and that's been brought up a few times in regards to my campaign, which I could go on to the response from that as well. But
yeah, that's great to hear. Our next question is, how will you actively engage and communicate with your constituents during and after the election?
so back to our current city council's aversion to social media, I think that's somewhere that I flourish, because I previously worked in the like social media, like small business and travel like marketing space. And a lot of that translates over to my campaign, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. That's a fun part of running, is you get to like brand yourself and engage with new people. Social media, I'm a big fan of for those reasons, but I think just having a new audience, bringing and engaging new people over to local politics. I know lots of people get really involved in national politics, but like down ballot in your city, in your neighborhood, those votes are so important. In states like California, where we're guaranteed blue electoral college votes, I almost encourage people to focus more on their local politics than national, because these are the things that directly influence your community. Like county supervisors, I worked on a campaign last election for a county supervisor, and she unfortunately didn't win. And then tomorrow, Tuesday or Wednesday, there's a county supervisor vote on closing an outdoor juvenile detention facility called the Ranch, where it's like open, there aren't fences, the kids aren't in cells or cell blocks in any way. They want to close this more modern facility and put all these kids into the Martinez Youth Detention Facility, which is cell blocks and cells, which like right now, especially with this like push in society to reimagine policing and punishment and jailing and prisons, like it should be the opposite. These kids shouldn't be going from the ranch into cells and cages. Should be the opposite. The kids from the cages should be going out to the ranch. The ranch should be receiving more funding, not closing. And I think that if we took the county supervisor votes more seriously last election, this might be a different story. It's going to be a tough fight to get them not to close the ranch, but I think if we had different county supervisors, this would be a completely different fight.
Yeah, that's also really great to hear. Yeah, I think you're running for all the right reasons, which is really good and refreshing in politics. Our next question is, Martinez is categorized as moderately liberal, and you're running on a progressive platform. How will you address the more moderate Democrats in your policies and your proposals?
So I am a more progressive candidate, but I was raised by libertarians. So I think that I kind of have the best of both worlds where like I have a heart, I have compassion and empathy that I try and get people to align with, because I think everyone else has heart and compassion and empathy. They just need to see the facts, not necessarily what like the media is feeding them, or hear a specific like anecdote or personal story that ties in to the news. Then they might think completely differently about what they're hearing. Like the other day at a protest, the protest at the juvenile detention facility to not close the ranch. That's what the protest was about. There was a young man who spoke about his experience in juvie and how his life would have been different if he was at the ranch instead. I think everyone needs to hear those stories and those narratives because they change hearts and minds. In Martinez, like I said, I'm born and raised here. My dad was born and raised here. My grandpa was born and raised here. So I think that in that alone, and my last name gets me some recognition with the older folks, and like that's how I win them at first, with like my cool history of Martinez posts or willing to talk to them about historic Martinez. And then I kind of win them over with like, I have a lot of experience living with my grandpa and seeing all of his older friends. Like I know how to win older folks over, I think. And it's just about applying all of those experiences to similar voters. I mean, my grandpa was a registered Republican his whole life, but now I explain the news to him daily, or he can ask me any question he wants and I explain it to him, and then he's like, oh, that makes sense, I understand. That's not what it seemed like on the news. And I'm like, yes, but here are the facts and here are the sources. I'm not lying to you. Like, and I win him over.
It's great to see that I think being easy to talk to is really important in this election. So it's really great that you are like that. And as you know, we are for Joe Biden, so we were wondering, how do you plan on engaging young voters in this election?
Yeah, so there are only, in Martinez, there are only, if we're, I think the like official population is around like 36,000. And then we have a lot of unincorporated areas, but they can't vote for city council. So it doesn't matter in this, but out of those 36,000 people, only a few thousand actually vote. And I would bet that they're older folks who have been voting the same way their whole lives. Maybe they just see the incumbent and tick that on the ballot. So getting young people to vote, it's coronavirus is handy in this aspect. All of my friends and their siblings and cousins are all home from college, and so they're engaging their parents in conversations about my campaign. And it's just about getting all these kids who are home from college or are home in the first place to register to vote in Martinez in District 2, and growing the voter base of young voters is more important, almost more as important as like reaching existing voters, because if not for the youth vote, I don't think I can win. So getting young folks engaged, explaining to them like, oh, I see you posted about defund the police, but what are you doing to implement that into your community? I'll listen to how these few candidates in Contra Costa County are doing it in their communities, and if you vote for them, if you register to vote in your hometown, you can vote for them, so that this will be implemented in your hometown, not just they're all home in their hometown, so it's not like this is anything tricky, but yeah, just getting kids to like who are home in their hometowns right now to register to vote in their hometowns, I think is important.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to hear that as youth for Joe Biden, the youth vote is definitely very important. Our next question is, as coronavirus cases continue to expand in numbers, a public health plan is necessary to run for office. What are your short-term and long-term plans for public health and the coronavirus?
I missed the middle of that. Do you mind repeating it? It
Yeah,
was like skippy.
I'll repeat the whole question. So the question is, as coronavirus cases continue to expand in numbers, a public health plan is necessary to run for office. What are your short-term and long-term plans for public health and the coronavirus?
So in the short term, I've been publicizing where you can get tested for free or low cost in Martinez. I think that's important news to get out there to let people know that you can get tested for free. And I know someone who got tested for free at County Hospital in Martinez, and they still got a $100 bill sent to their house at the free clinic. But at least it's good to know that even if you do get billed, it'll be for $100, which is a significant amount of money, but it's not the highest medical bill I've ever seen in my life. But she got that overthrown, so it's fine. She won't be charged for that, but it was nice to see that type of transparency. I think families, service industry workers, and entertainment industry workers and small businesses are like points of focus for me on coronavirus recovery. Is that like, even if they're allowed to do takeout, even if they're allowed to do outdoor seating, even if they're allowed to be open for retail, but only with a few people in at a time with masks or whatever, like their business is still not going to be the same as it was pre-coronavirus. And that realizing that and like making efforts to not lose these small businesses, because the Martinez has the cutest downtown I've ever seen, and so many cute small businesses and people who care about the community and care about progressive causes and care about making the downtown cute and inviting new small businesses and commerce. I don't want to lose these people and their families that are in the community, and all of the people that they employ are important. So small business really for COVID is really important to me. It's something I care about. And then on a national level, I think I heard yesterday that they voted to do another stimulus check, which is helpful. But like on a city level, I'm not sure what else could be done other than, because I know the county, Contra Costa County Health Department has been in charge of like what can be open and what can be closed. It's not up to the city. So I think that what the city can do is give attention and give funds to the nonprofits that support small businesses downtown, like down Main Street Martinez, downtown Martinez, the Chamber of Commerce, stuff like that, who are already super in the loop with what small businesses want and what they need. And I think that working with them to create some sort of program to keep small businesses and their families afloat during this time is important. Yeah.
And then our final question is, what are your thoughts on reopening the schools this fall and distance learning?
So I have a 19-year-old sister who goes to Oregon State, and I have a 12-year-old sister who goes to public school, junior high. And I can't imagine sending them back to school right now. I just saw in the news that today was the first day of school for kids in Georgia. Meanwhile, like last week, a summer camp in Georgia had an outbreak of cases where all these kids at a summer camp got sick, and now they're all going back to school. Like, it just feels like it's too soon. And like, I wouldn't send my own siblings or kids, if I had kids, to school right now. And most of the teachers I know don't want to go back. One of them does want to go back. And she teaches third grade. So I'm not sure how she imagines third graders are going to respect social distancing and masks and things. But I appreciate her perspective as a teacher. But all of the other teachers I know in my life aren't ready to go back. You can't expect kids to keep their masks on. Like, sometimes masks are uncomfortable for me and I have to move it around. I can't imagine trusting a 5-year-old to keep their mask on all day in a classroom where you just want to run around and play with your friends. Especially, you can't run around and play with your friends if you're social distancing. I don't think that it's going to be the same like quality experience anyway. You might as well do distance learning. Both my sisters will be doing distance learning at their schools, and we have the privilege of my mom and dad being home most of the time now because their jobs are mostly remote now. So they'll be able to help them with distance learning. I get that like this is troubling for working families. Like there has to be some sort of in between for working families, but yeah, it's so complex and difficult. I know in Martinez they're going to be fully distant learning, and then at DVC only a few things are going to be hybrid just for the international students' sake. But I only signed up for online classes because I was kind of anticipating this.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so those are all the questions I have for you today. Thank you for meeting with me and the team. I'm sorry that not many people showed up, but I think once we publicize this on our IGTV, we'll definitely get a lot more people who may have questions, and we'll direct them all to you. And then Momo and Max, I mean, if you have any other questions, you guys can feel free to ask. If not, that's the end of today's interview.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions I can think of, but thank you for your time. That was really interesting to hear, and nice to hear, like Ria said, a refreshing perspective on politics.
Yeah, I have no desire to be a politician. I just want to make some difference now while I'm able.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions either, but thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It was really helpful
Yeah.
to watch. And
Thank you so much for reaching out.
Okay, well, thank you for joining. This will be up on our IGTV by the end of this week, hopefully, and I will be with all the information. But if you don't have any other questions, that should be the end of this interview.
That's it. Thank you.
Bye.